10 News begins right now with breaking news.
That breaking news is this. Live pictures out of Providence where firefighters remain on the scene of a pretty stubborn house fire that broke out overnight. We've learned that investigators are now looking into the possibility that the fire was set, that it was an arson. The latest from the scene where NBC 10's Carrie Corrado is.
We'll also talk about the people who had to be transported to the hospital after a serious crash in Woonsocket just a couple of hours ago. That and more is headed your way here on the Sunrise Show this Tuesday morning. This is your 5:30 a.m. wake-up call. For those of you just joining our gathering, we're here to set you up for the day. Most of our team is in place. Molly O'Brien has the day off, but Carrie Corrado's here reporting in a moment from the scene of that fire in Providence. We'll begin with Kelly Love with all those temperatures behind you. Kelly, what's today going to be like?
Well, it's going to be breaking news overnight. Providence firefighters are responding to a house fire on Carpenter Street. It broke out around 2:30 this morning. Let's head straight out to Carrie Corrado's live on the scene. Carrie, we understand they're looking at this as an arson now?
That's right, Allison. I did just speak to the fire chief, and he said they are investigating this fire as an arson, like you mentioned. The house is vacant, although this fire was stubborn. They've been here for a few hours now, so a very active investigation and scene here this morning along Carpenter Street in Providence. Happened around 2:30. Firefighters are still here, like I mentioned, and we're told by the chief that the house was vacant. So apparently the fire had happened on the outside. 10 fire trucks lining the streets. Parts of Carpenter Street is blocked off. Smoke was pouring out of the house, at times very heavy. The flames seemed to be on the top left corner when I saw them. I walked around the back and firefighters were ripping off siding to get to the hidden fires. Now, to describe some of the conditions for you, it's windy, it's cold out here, and that's something the firefighters are battling against as well.
Wind, not extremely windy, but enough that it was driving the fire across the ridge line, the roof, and throughout different parts of the house.
To give you a quick recap, they are investigating this as an arson. The house was vacant, and as of now, no reported injuries. We're live in Providence this morning. Carrie Corrado, NBC 10 News.
And several people had to be hospitalized after a serious car crash in Woonsocket just a couple of hours ago. This is our other overnight breaking news item. Around 2 o'clock this morning is when this happened on Mendon Road in the city. Our crews on the scene report at least 3 people had to be transported after firefighters worked to get them out of the vehicle. Allison?
More breaking news as well overnight. Oscar Pistorius has been granted bail in order to house arrest pending sentencing for his murder conviction. Last week, a judge overturned his manslaughter conviction in the shooting death of his girlfriend, Reva Steenkamp, on Valentine's Day in 2013. Sentencing is now scheduled for April 18th. Pistorius says he will appeal the judge's decision. Tracking today, the Rhode Island Supreme Court is expected to issue its ruling on the grievance arbitration case between the Providence Firefighters Union and the city. At the same time, NBC 10 has learned that the Providence City Council has retained a consulting group to evaluate the department. City Council President Louis Aponte is saying that they've hired MMA Consulting to review the rank and organization of the department. Firefighters have been at odds with the mayor's office over firefighter shifts and overtime costs. This review, though, is not directly related to that dispute, we're told. Turn to NBC 10 both on air and online as the story continues to develop.
Tom Brady and the NFL Players Association have appealed the Deflategate decision again. Oral arguments are set for March of next year. The court papers have been filed to, in essence, appeal the appeal. The Players Union maintains NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell was making a, quote, sweeping grab for power, unquote, when he suspended Brady for 4 games before the start of the season. That decision was overturned, and the league decided to fight it, and now it's the union's turn to challenge that lawsuit.
New on Sunrise this morning, the Pawtucket Red Sox will soon create a franchise Hall of Fame. The Providence Journal is reporting that the inaugural class of inductees will be held in Pawtucket at McCoy Stadium sometime next year. We won't know, though, who is inducted until after January 1st, but you can have your say, too, by submitting your nominations through email or on Twitter.
The BC basketball Friars are set to host the Boston College Eagles tomorrow night, but there's a problem. BC players are still suffering from E. coli. Massachusetts health officials are investigating after a number of Boston College students got sick after they ate at a nearby Chipotle restaurant. It's unclear if this illness has anything to do with the national E. coli outbreak linked to that restaurant chain. According to an agency spokesman, 30 students, including members of the men's basketball team, have complained of gastrointestinal symptoms. And that Chipotle restaurant location remains closed as of now. Chipotle officials say they're not aware of problems in the New England area, but they are looking into it.
And we're learning more about this. A young Marine who took his own life following a tense situation in Swansea Sunday night. 24-year-old Brandon Leonardo died of an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound following an altercation at a former girlfriend's home. Those who knew him say he suffered from PTSD-type symptoms since returning from serving overseas. NBC 10's Tony Gugliotta has the details on the warning signs before this weekend's incident and the help available to others who are affected by a mental health condition.
As SWAT units and members of local and state police departments surround his home Sunday night, Brandon Leonardo ended his own life amid what seems to be overwhelming sadness. Posts like these from his Facebook page hours before he died may help tell the tale. Someone save me in the next 5 minutes, and blanks about to get real.
Do not ignore the plea for help. Their signs are usually everywhere.
Eric Wallen is the executive director for Operation Stand Down Rhode Island, a local veterans services organization. He says that 22 veterans take their lives each day in this country, and the problem is reaching epidemic proportions.
A lot of it has to do with that they've been over there for multiple deployments, sometimes 2 or 3 different deployments.
Wallen says there are plenty of resources for veterans if they need help, including the National Veterans Crisis Line that can be accessed through the web. Tony Gugliotta, NBC 10 News.
In Decision 2016 news right now, Donald Trump is coming under fire, some are saying, for his controversial remarks about Muslims.
Total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the United States until our country's representatives can figure out what the hell is going on.
That statement came during a campaign stop in South Carolina. Trump claiming a large number of Muslims in this country believe in waging war against the United States and, quote, have no respect for human life. His comments setting off a firestorm within his own party and from U.S. Muslim leaders.
Donald Trump sounds more like a leader of a lynch mob than a great nation.
Former Vice President Dick Cheney also weighed in on these latest remarks, saying it, quote, goes against everything we stand for and believe in. We are tracking developments in the San Bernardino terrorist attack as a vigil continues for the victims. We're learning more also about the suspects. A new photograph is showing Tashfeen Malik arriving in the United States in 2014 with Saeed Farouk by her side. That's the picture right there. FBI officials say it appears the couple have been radicalized for some period of time. We've also learned that the couple spent time targeting practice, with the latest coming just days before the attack.
The Massachusetts Attorney General has praised the U.S. Supreme Court's ruling in a recent assault weapons case. Yesterday, the High Court decided not to hear from gun owners who are challenging a Chicago suburb's assault weapons ban. Massachusetts has had a similar law in place since 1998. The Attorney General, Maura Healey, said, in her view, since Congress has failed to pass common-sense gun reform laws, states have to be able, she says, to fill that leadership void.
Coming up next on Sunrise, local police are investigating after a miniature horse was shot. Now the family's asking for help to save the animal's life.
5:39 in the morning now. Coming up next in Flashback, a reminder for all of you who will be driving cars to work today that might have part of the license plates obscured. It could get you pulled over. Kelly?
And we're talking temperatures and a rain chance. I'll have details on our mild outlook coming up right after the break.
NBC 10 News Sunrise continues now with weather and traffic every 10 minutes.
Good morning. We're tracking some...
So it encompasses the morning rush hour and just before the afternoon rush hour. Beware if your travels take you there. Allison?
All right, Acushnet police are investigating after this. A miniature horse was shot in the leg, and now the family is left scrambling to save the animal. The horse is home after receiving treatment, but the family is fearing that they may still have to put the horse down. NBC 10's Brian Crandall spoke to the owner about their efforts to save the animal.
Max is friendly and curious. He's also in peril after being shot.
It's horrible. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like someone coming into your yard and shooting your dog, you know, or breaking in your house, and you know what I mean? Like, I feel violated, you know? It's terrible.
Owner Andrew Bonville tells me Max was out in a field on his Acushnet property last week. When the owners checked on him, he was hobbling. His leg was bleeding. Their vet just confirmed shotgun buckshot was in Max's ankle.
I don't see how it could have been like a hunting accident or anything, but I don't know. I don't know who did this.
Bonville says the vet does not think Max's leg will heal, leaving them in a dire predicament.
We can either put him down, or maybe if we can get enough money together, we can we can like have it amputated and get him a prosthetic.
The family has started a GoFundMe page in hopes of raising that money to save Max.
I'm a little attached to him, you know. Only we want to keep him around. We've had him since he was little, and you know what I mean? He's like a part of the family.
And Acushnet Police and Animal Control ask anyone who may have information about what happened to Max to give them a call. I'm Brian Crandall, NBC 10 News in Acushnet.
Tracking today, Freetown's Planning Board is expected to discuss a proposed marijuana growing facility. The state-of-the-art grow facility would be located indoors and could grow to be nearly 1 million square feet. The proposed site is at the Campanelli Business Park, and town officials are saying it could bring in as many as 300 jobs and an extra $1 million every year on top of tax revenue. The company, American Incorporated, won't actually sell any of the cannabis, though. They'll just lease the facility to licensed growers.
The Coventry Fire District will hold its annual financial meeting today. On the agenda, a review of the new union contract, approval of the 2015-2016 annual budget, and the election of 4 members to the board of directors. Last month, the union and the town reached a contract agreement that avoided a shutdown. Tonight's meeting will take place at 7 p.m. at the Feinstein Middle School. We'll have an update on that on tonight's 11 o'clock news.
New on Sunrise, Sturbridge fire officials are working to determine the cause of a 4-alarm fire. This is a photograph from the town's police department. The fire started around 9:30 last night in a barn on the property of the Parent Landscape and Construction business. Roads in the areas were closed as crews worked to contain the fire. No injuries reported, and several area fire departments were called in to help. Also tracking today in Providence, the Rhode Island Foundation will announce the details of a $10 million campaign to restore Roger Williams Park. Next year will be the park's 100th anniversary. The event kicks off at 8 a.m. at the park's Museum of Natural History. City leaders will be on hand to discuss the plans and specific future plans and details of the park.
Today, members of Warwick's school committee will meet an executive session to discuss the future of 2 school administrators. Last week it was reported that David LaPlante, the director of buildings and grounds, and Rosemary Healy, the director of human resources, had been placed on administrative leave. The Providence Journal reports LaPlante is at the center of the police investigation after police were alerted to an issue, a problem with an administrator. Police would only say the investigation is ongoing and also stress the 2 are unrelated.
Tracking today, the United States Supreme Court is expected to begin hearing arguments in the Abbott case. The court will decide whether or not the one-person, one-vote principle of the 14th Amendment creates a judicially enforceable right, as it's called, making sure the districting process does not deny voters an equal vote.
Now, today's flashback is an 8-year-old report that also serves as a reminder about something you might want to think about today concerning your car, truck, or SUV's license plate. The story is from December 8th, 2007, about a man's unfortunate drive through New York State.
Rich Nisani is in his car day and night, driving all over the Northeast.
Yeah, I'm a traveling salesman.
Late in October, Nisani was parked outside a customer's business in Brooklyn, New York, when he got a ticket for doing something many of us are doing as we speak.
In almost 15 years of travel, I've never gotten a ticket like this.
A $65 ticket for having a license plate frame like this one on his car, one that covered the words Rhode Island.
He said if you were in a hit-and-run accident, we wouldn't be able to tell where you're from, so therefore we got to give you a ticket.
Whether cheering on your favorite team or advertising for the dealership where you bought the car, New York State Police tell me if this frame covers any part of the words or numbers on your license, it is prohibited. We traveled one local parking lot and found nearly 3 dozen plate frames on cars in this lot alone. Now, we called state police in Rhode Island, Massachusetts, and Connecticut as well. You may be surprised to hear that plate frames that obscure any words, numbers, or lettering on your license plate are prohibited in those states as well. In the newsroom, I'm Nicole Murray, NBC 10 News.
So far as we know, those laws are still in effect today. And Nicole, so far as we know, is retired now from the TV news business. That's Flashback for a Tuesday morning.
Coming up next on Sunrise, a holiday tradition honoring fallen soldiers comes to Rhode Island as volunteers make their way to Arlington. We
have that story and more of the day's news in a moment. Right now, though, let's pause from the day's news coverage and say good morning to Collie Cashman of West Warwick, newest member of our world-famous Early Risers Club. We are glad you are on board.
Hey, Collie, good morning to you. Thanks for joining us. You, too, can become part of the Sunrise Early Risers Club. Say good morning, tell us who you are and where you're from on the NBC 10 Facebook page before 5:30 in the morning. And we might say good morning to you, too.
NBC 10 News Sunrise continues now with weather and traffic every 10 minutes.
Good morning. It is 5:54 on this Tuesday, and we are...
All right, Frank, thanks. Tracking today, Wreaths Across America is coming here to Rhode Island. Volunteers for the organization will arrive at Punagansett Middle School in Gloucester around 8:15 this morning. And they will collect 100 wreaths, which will then be laid on graves of fallen soldiers at Arlington National Cemetery. Police, firemen, and others are escorting the delivery to Arlington, where about 40,000 volunteers are expected to gather to lay the wreaths.
And here's a reminder for residents of the city of Warwick. The city's 2016 calendar should be in your mailbox this week. This year's calendar features photos from city residents of landmarks around the city, as well as, and this is important, the 2016 trash and yard waste collection schedules, also contact information for various city officials and departments. You can also pick one up at the Warwick DPW and the library on Sandy Lane.
All right, 5:56 on this Tuesday morning. Coming up next on Sunrise, the city of Cranston and the mayor could soon be facing now a civil lawsuit after an officer is unjustly demoted during the ticketing blitz scandal, so he says.
Tuesday morning, December the 8th. We're back in a moment with that story and more of the day's news. Hey, here's our live camera on the scene at Rockefeller Center in New York. Isn't that tree pretty?